Austin with Josh's Frogs, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Australian White's tree frogs. So we have here some adult Australian White's tree frogs. These ones specifically are what we would consider snowflakes. They have a significant amount of white spotting on their bodies. This is one of our adult females. So you can see she has a whole bunch of white spotting. All of this coloration on her body is totally normal. We do get questions pretty frequently saying, hey, I think my frog has some sort of disease. It has all of these white spots all over its back, and it's just a random patterning variation that many tree frogs have. Australian White's tree frogs, as you might have guessed by the name, are from mostly Australia. They do have some populations up in Indonesia and Papua New Guinea, but primarily, if you were to look at their geographical distribution, it would be most of Australia, all of northern and eastern Australia. You can find these guys. Not so much in the desert parts, but these frogs are very tolerant to the climate out there, so they can tolerate drying out a little bit more than most other tree frogs. They secrete a waxy substance that helps to coat their skin, and the heat, they can tolerate spikes of heat a little bit more than your regular tree frog, one that you might find from South America. At Josh's Frogs, we house our White's tree frogs by sex, so all of the females are together and all the males are together. Males can kind of be a little bit annoying to females. They'll hop on their backs, and after a little bit, if the female isn't receptive, she'll kick them off. But we just like to reduce the amount of stress, and when we do want them to be amplexing and breeding, we want them to get excited when they do actually get to see each other. It's totally fine to house males and females together, but if you do notice a male being particularly tenacious, you should think about maybe separating them so that the females get a break. Ideal substrates for these guys would include things like damp cocoa fiber, damp biobedding, damp paper towels. If you're wanting to be extra cautious, paper towels are oftentimes the way to go. It allows you to see when the frogs are eating and pooping normally. So I like to recommend those things at least for the first week or so, just to make sure that your frog is acclimating well, and then you can move the frog onto the regular substrate that you would be providing permanently. If that's a bioactive substrate, then that's great. You can grow live plants. You're definitely going to want to make sure over time that the plants are sturdy. So I always recommend people go into our crested gecko category for White's tree frogs, just because they can be so heavy. If they're jumping on a fern, they're just going to absolutely destroy it. So definitely stay away from those things that look to be a little bit more fragile. As far as feeding goes, you're going to want to feed these guys primarily crickets or cockroaches. So banded crickets or dubia roaches are great. Definitely going to want to make sure that you're gut loading those things beforehand. We have some videos on that topic elsewhere, which can be linked down below. They will start out when you receive them from Josh's Frogs. If you're buying just a regular young White's tree frog, they'll start out eating 1/4-inch crickets, and you can progressively upgrade them to 1/2-inch, 3/4, and large. Same with dubia, 1/4-inch, 1/2-inch, and then when they get to be really big, full-grown adults, they can take adult dubia, but most of the time you would want to probably stick with 3/4-inch. So you always want to remember when feeding frogs to dust them with a vitamin or a calcium supplement. It'll help them develop strong bones and be able to move around their enclosure the way that you want them to. When determining the sex of your frogs, as adults, you'll notice some differences. Those things are called sexual dimorphisms. Males will, of course, be calling. They're a pretty vocal species. They're fairly loud. They're not the loudest species that we work with, but if you have a bunch of males in a room, it can definitely be distracting, and you might want to pause a conversation if you are having one. We found actually that when talking around the enclosures, the males will sometimes all start and start a chorus. But one of the things that you can see on this male frog is his throat, and you'll also call if you put any sort of pressure around his belly like this. Many frogs have a release call. If they think that a male is trying to breed with them, they will let the male know, hey, this is not gonna work out, I am a boy. But you can see that this frog has a darkened throat patch right here. It's just from the constant stretching of calling all the time. They will also develop nuptial pads on their inner digit on their thumbs right here. When it's breeding season, this spot will darken up, and the prevailing theory is that that aids in their grip on the females when they are amplexing them. At Josh's Frogs, we do have several different varieties of White's tree frogs. Here today we have snowflake White's tree frogs. They are part of the Australian line typically, but you can see them pop up in the Indonesian variety as well. Some other ones that we have are blue-eyed White's tree frogs. They are just a normal White's tree frog in appearance, except for their eyes are a nice light blue color. And then there is also the honey White's tree frog, and you can get kind of a mixture of any of those things. So you could have a snowflake honey blue-eyed White's tree frog, or a blue-eyed snowflake White's tree frog. And there's also blue-phase White's tree frogs, which can be anywhere from a light tealish color under the proper lighting, or all the way to a nice light blue color. Again, the things that determine the coloration of a frog would be lighting and their background surfaces. Most frogs in the wild are prey to other animals, and so they like to blend in as much as possible. So a nice bright green frog is not going to be something that, unless it's on leaves, is not going to be something that is hiding very well from predators, and so they like to match their background. So if you have a lot of wood in your enclosure, chances are they're going to try to be a little bit more brown on the color spectrum that they have. So hopefully you guys have learned a little bit more about White's tree frogs. These are a great frog for all levels of experience with frog owners, but especially great for people that are just starting out. They're very active, they're interactable, and all around a beautiful frog to have.
Thanks so much for watching this video. Here at Josh's Frogs, bringing nature to your doorstep is more than just our mission, it's our passion. We want you to have the most successful experience possible, so we're going to be here for you before, during, and after your purchase, whether that's with our captive-bred animals, plants, insects, or the wide variety of their care products on our website. You always have access to our dedicated customer service team, on-site nature experts, hundreds of free articles via our blog, and many more videos right here on our YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe. We're always happy to help. Just shoot us an email or give us a call. You can find all of this information and more at joshsfrogs.com. Thanks again, and see you next time.